Welcome to the Trinity Podcast, where we discuss real estate, business, and the secrets of money. I'm your host, Joanna Wright, the real estate wealth maven, and
I'm Becky, your host as well. Becky Eastep Noble, the credit coach queen.
And we're here to give you the tools that you need to reach your financial freedom. We were just having a discussion here, and I said, oh my God, we got to jump on. And so welcome to the Trinity Podcast, where I think this is podcast 2 now.
Hey.
So rocking and rolling. And the reason we've come together is solely due to so many people are just not educated on the tools that are available for you to reach financial freedom. You can Google, you can YouTube, and you'll find this piece here, that piece there, this piece there. Well, how does it all come together specifically for you? And Becky and I decided that this was the way. This is how we're going to bring it together for you guys. So every question you guys have, you could type into the comments below or to the side, depending on where you're viewing this, YouTube or Facebook. To let us know your thoughts and be a part of our future podcasts. So with that, we were discussing the tools that you needed and why. What is the bottom line? What was your main question that you had, Becky?
So there's several questions that I have, especially when it comes to real estate investing. But basically, we were kind of pulling this apart. Like, why do people care about having credit? Why do people care about having business credit? Why do people care about owning assets, having real estate? So what is the why? What's the point of doing that? And really, you were talking about the classes of people. And so go back over that right quick. Like we have 3 different classes of people right now, right?
Right. Absolutely. So what I've learned in my education over the past 20 years, not trying to date myself or anything, but the world is turning. I don't know if you guys have noticed, so many things have changed. And what is happening here, and in my mentor's eyes, I see it as well. And that's why we're bringing this to you, for you guys to see it as well, or hear it, however you want to listen or see the podcast. That currently today we have 3 classes of people. We have the poor, middle class, and the upper class, right? We call it the 1%ers, right? Or the 5%ers. And then as the world is turning and trying to segregate us, either by race or sex or by getting your vaccine shot or not, we're being set into different buckets of types of people. Whether you realize it or not, the government is segregating, right? And so the biggest thing that I want to bring to the table is, how do you stay at the top, right? Because the middle class is going away. So with the transition of our society that's happening right now before your very eyes, and I know everyone could see it, and some are just going, what do I do about it, right? I'm telling you, jump on board this podcast. You're going to learn so much, because what we know and why we're sharing this is that the middle class is going away. You're either going to be poor or you're going to be rich. So wealth doesn't disappear. It just shifts to those that are taking action, right? So if you shift and take action into listening to our podcasts and hearing the tools that are necessary to reach that financial freedom, to get to the upper class, right? So that's going to be a bigger percentage as we all shift from one or the other. That middle class is going away. So which one are you going to be? That's what we were discussing.
Please. Yep, the rich, please. For
the
sure.
rich, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Sign me up for that program.
Right. And so how do you get there? And that's also another thing. And why do you want to be there? Maybe you want to be poor, right? What does that mean? What does poor really mean? Is it a bad thing? It's not bad. It just means you're controlled more by the government, right? Being rich, and some people say, I've heard this over and over again, they have too much damn money, or they're ugly people because they have money, or it's okay to be rich. Now, if you read the Bible, and I'm not going to get biblical on you or anything like that, but it is mentioned over 2,000 times that you are due the abundance, you are due the riches, right? You just have to go out and get it. You have to take action, right?
Mhm.
It's the poor that don't do anything, right? They don't take action to have a different future. And maybe they don't want to.
Wait.
Go ahead.
So you're saying the poor is just not taking action, or do you think that maybe they just don't know what tools they need in their toolbox in order to do something? They might do something if they knew
That's a
what to
great
do.
point. That's a great point. So the reason I'm saying that they're not taking action, right? They may not want to,
Mhm.
right? So they might be in the middle
Sure.
class right now, and they're choosing to go, this is too much for me to do, to go be rich. I'd rather just be poor,
Sure.
right? There are people that say that.
Yeah.
And then there's people going, well, I didn't know I could choose to be rich,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those are the people that we're trying to reach. I didn't know that there was tools out there
Mm-hmm.
that I could go to the upper class,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's considered the upper. It's not a better person. We're all great human beings. It's just what we choose and how we choose to live, and what's comfortable for us. So when I'm speaking to multimillionaires, right, they're just broke at a different level. They don't have that mindset to handle their finances, right? And then there's others that are, the creme of the creme, the one percenters, that they have the tools to keep more of the money they make, to maximize the money that they have. And that's kind of what I'm getting at too. It's not necessarily being rich, because we can all make money.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with the money,
Mm-hmm.
right? That makes you that sustains you in the financial freedom is more what I should say, not being rich, but that can sustain you in a financial freedom situation so you can live in abundance.
Well, and I think it's just a different business model. Like the more that I get into this and the more that I study it, like a doctor can go be a doctor because they go study how to be a doctor. Somebody could get into real estate just by going and studying how to be in real estate. Somebody can get into getting financing for their business just by studying finance and understanding how to go get that loan to grow their business. All the information's out there. It's just you can take the long way and study it, or you can take the shortcut and learn from people that have done it before you. So they're showing you like, step here, do this, don't do that. And so I think that, we were talking about it. I was like, okay, well, what's the point of us doing this? Like, this is the point. Like you doing the real estate thing for the last 20 years. Like we had a discussion before we hopped on here, like, hey, this is my current situation right now. And like, I feel so blessed to have access to you because I could be like, how do I fix this? And it's a hard one for me. Like my parents they're going through some things right now, and we're looking at their housing situation and how can we use the assets and the equity that's already in the property to help them with their situation. And so you working that piece out for me is super helpful. And I know there's people all over the place that have these kinds of things going on. So really, we just wanted more people to know that we exist, right? And that we really can help people map out a good plan when it comes to like what credit and getting financing for your business, and also on your side, like the real estate wealth maven, like 20 years of looking at contracts and figuring out creative ways to put together deals and like really mapping out. And we were talking about your 5-day challenge, and like and what did you say, like what is the front page of that say, like what does it do for somebody?
It's your customized blueprint. Really, it gives you things to choose from and why you would choose those things. It really maps it out for you. It's a millionaire blueprint. So if you're wanting to get to the position I was talking about, the financial freedom, having assets is huge. And what keeps people stuck And Becky's going to talk to you about the magic string in about a second here. But what keeps people stuck is they just don't know the how. Tell me the how. And they Google, how do I do real estate investing? How do I do this? How do I do that? And they see like 12 different hows and they go, they're still confused. And they go, does that work for me? And so that's why in my 5-day challenge, I help people to make those decisions, right? How to choose your market, how to find sellers, how to, understand how to get started where you're at, right? So that you can reach your end goal, which is having assets and financial freedom, right? So let's talk a little bit about that magic string, what holds people back.
Sure. So I was listening. Part of what we do together, Joanna and I, we do leadership stuff because we've figured out that leadership is like in every single thing that you do, as I'm learning more about leadership. And so one of my mentors is Orrin Woodward and Chris Brady. And Orrin gives this example about being at his house up in Michigan, one of his many houses. And he's got like these 20 acres of like a pond or a lake. And he's like got this issue where he's got these geese that keep coming onto his land over and over again. And he's fixing to have a bunch of company come out and he doesn't want bird poop everywhere. And so he keeps trying to shoo these geese away and make them go away. And him and his dog would run and chase these birds away and come back the next day, then the geese are still there. And so he's just really having this issue with it. He doesn't know how to do or how to get rid of these geese that are on his property. And so he actually goes to the gaming commission and he talks to him. And the gaming commission is like, well, here's what you need to do. Take some wooden stakes and then take, every so many feet, put a stake in, tie some string around the edge of the pond. And so he's like, there is no way. Them geese will just go right over that. They'll just step over that string, right? And so he said that within 2 or 3 days, the geese were completely all gone. They were not coming back to the pond anymore, all of that. And what I loved about what he did is it was just such an aha moment for me. He tied this back into people and how we allow imaginary strings to control whether we take action to do something or not. It's like for me, I'm always trying to like figure things out. And so it's like, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, I could talk to so-and-so, but here's what's going to keep me from being able to. It's like every reason that something is not going to happen is what my brain starts telling me. Like, well, it's not going to work because of this. It's not going to work because of that. It's not going to be working because of that. And it's the silliest thing ever. Because it
you could call it silly string.
Well, there you go. That's awesome.
Silly string, literally, because so one of the biggest things that I hear that hold people back in real estate investing is, first of all, they don't know how to get started. Second of all, they either say they don't have the time or they don't have the money, right? Well, I don't have money or I don't have a great credit score, right? So I can't do real estate. Yeah, you can. That's a silly string that you think that. Right? You're not wrong for thinking that. Most people do. It's just that I know better. So it's a silly string that I know that holds people back. I love how to use that. Do you mind if I use that?
I think we just need to keep that. We're putting that in our pocket. What's your silly string?
What's your silly string?
Because it makes my because I can picture silly string and how it just like pulls apart so easy. Like it disintegrates, right? It disintegrates. You can just wash it right off. So no string, no more.
Well, here's what I got from that story as well. The geese story, right?
Yeah.
He was so frustrated, and aren't we all in different things in our life? So frustrated. And he got a mentor that happened to be the gaming commissioner, right?
That knew more and
gave him a simple fix. How simple is it to tie string to a stake and stick it around your pond? It's a super easy thing to do. It's hard. And that's what I got from it was just, if you have a mentor, if you have somebody that knows more, go find someone who knows more than what you want to know about, right? Which is why we're doing this podcast, so that you could find out more. Type your questions in the comments so that we can give you more, right? And then get rid of that silly string, right? And then be able to get rid of the geese, right? Get rid of the geese.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just
so there's no more poop.
So there's no more poop. There's more shit in your life. I had to say it.
Yeah.
So the more you do that, the more you get rid of that silly string, right? Because that's what holds the geese back, right? What's holding you back? You could type in the comments, let us know what's holding you back, and we'd love to experiment and see how this, coagulates throughout the podcast, and bringing more people into knowing how to get rid of their silly string. So the more we hear from you, the more we're going to be able to wash off that silly string, as Becky says.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of times. And so with real estate investing, I know there was like 4 main points we were going to talk about today, I believe. But I can't remember what they were, because those are your things. And so, but a lot of times, when it comes to real estate, for me, I think, I just don't have the money to make 2 mortgage payments. Like if it was to come down to it, I don't want to have 10 properties and feel like I'm stuck holding a bag. And it feels overwhelming to me. I did invest in property before, and I rented it to people, and I was too nice to be a renter person back then. And so what would you say to people that have those kind of thoughts, maybe?
Absolutely. So the first thing that came to my head is, yes, you are just a very sweet human being. And with that leads a lot to be walked over, which is why you should remove yourself from being a property manager.
Absolutely. I'm gonna take that silly string and it's gonna go, right? Like that.
There you go. Wash it off.
I learned from before, right? But
so everything is a learning lesson. So don't ever beat yourself up at where you're at or what you're doing. Everything is a lesson. There's no such thing as failure, right? I always tell my students to fail forward fast, because that means you're learning something, right? You're learning something on how to now pivot to one side or another, right? So knowing that it's great that you have that experience, and that that's something you don't want to do, because there's an answer for that, right? Get a property manager. They're actually trained to deal with that, and get a proper tenant in that isn't emotionally involved with you, that they don't have to call you about the toilet or, anything else. You have to have a property management in place.
Take yourself out of that equation. And I think maybe, another silly string is, well, I can't afford to pay a property manager, then there won't be any profit in it. And so I've heard you talk about it many times, just to make sure that there is enough profit in there to plan for that. And if that's not there, then don't do the deal. Yeah,
exactly. So you brought up my 5-day challenge, and on day 3, I go over the numbers, and we start at the very top, and we deduct everything that needs to happen, go over all the numbers, and property management is one of them that's inserted there, to create your max purchase offer. And if it doesn't meet that max purchase offer, then you don't do the deal, right? Because so now here's a silly string that someone would have. Well, I could just property manage myself and save some money. Oh my God, you're not going to save any money. Let me tell you that. They are worth their weight in gold for sure, property managers. So another way to look at it is to buy a property and not have money for repairs. Does that make sense? No, right? So if you're buying something that needs to be rehabbed, you would make it so that the purchase price was enough margin so that you include rehab costs, right? I mean, it just makes sense. So why not property management?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And some people might even say, well, I could do the construction myself. Why? Again, why would you do that? Just get one that's got a bigger margin and have it outsourced. And some people may say, Joanna, just because you could do that, but I can't. I hear that a lot too, because I have 20 years experience. Well, how do you think I got there? It was not because I did it myself. It's because I got properties that had the margin, the budget, if you will, an AKA budget, to outsource property management, construction, everything that needed to happen is outsourced. And there are some things you could do yourself when you are first starting out. And I've heard my student, one of my students said, I'm going to house hack, right? I'm going to house hack. I went, oh gosh, please don't do that. So
what is house hack?
House hacking takes a certain personality, and it's basically like Airbnb. You're letting someone stay in your house in one of your rooms, but it's a roommate, right? You're renting out your rooms, so either short term or long term, and they call that house hacking. So you create the cash that eventually builds up to where you actually can buy another building that you rent out, right? People use it for all different reasons. And I can't even tell you how many horror stories I've heard from that, because people that own their home have a certain pride. And when you rent out a room, a renter doesn't have the same pride as you have for your house and don't treat it the same. So it gets to be very difficult. And another student of mine had rented out his house while he was in another state, to a friend, and they almost lost their friendship over it because he was so mad that he didn't treat the house with respect, and things were missing in the house. And I said, you have to understand that it was a renter situation, and that renters don't treat things the same way as ownership, right? So anyways, I'm getting a little off topic here, but it's super obviously important for me to share with you how having a property manager is worth its weight in gold. House hacking is not an answer. It's just the very, very few people can really pull that off with personality.
It's inviting more drama, right?
Inviting drama
in life.
Yeah. And liability, to be honest. You're inviting liability into your house as well. So make sure you have the proper insurance for that, because the insurance you have as a homeowner is a little bit different than renter's insurance. Anyways, I'm going down a rabbit hole that I probably but I get there. I get so passionate about real estate investing and getting people started the right way.
So what were the 4 topics that you were going to go over again?
So it was actually how to get money for real estate investing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to talk all about money today, and we'll definitely pull all that apart, but I really want to hear more about getting in investment money, because really, I mean, at the end of the day, I would think that that's the biggest silly string out there, is people not believing that they can get access to the funding. Or maybe even trust themselves with that much money and responsibility. So yeah, let's talk about money.
Good point. Love talking about money. So ways that you can get money. Let's start with that. Because I know that's just burning in people's brains going, well, if I knew how to get money, I would have less problems in my life. So we'll just start with that, right? And that's a whole nother training on leadership, problems versus money, right? Anyway, so there's, for real estate investing, let's just start with that. There is traditional money, which you go to a box bank, like Wells Fargo, B of A type banks, right? They have very limited products that they can sell you, and most people don't qualify for their products. So most people don't think that they could buy a house. It's traditional financing, right? 680 is a low score for banks. They do not like to lend, but that's like the bottom of the pool for them. They like 720 and up. And most of you are going, crap, that's not me. I know, because I talk to thousands of people all the time that aren't even close to that. And then there's quite few that, have that. They can do their traditional financing, and that's fine. My son he's like in the 800s, right? So he's like a god to the banks, right? They're like, oh, whatever you want, whatever you want. But most people are not that way. You have to really work at your credit. And that's absolutely what Becky Estep Noble here does, my co-host. She makes you look like a god on paper, right? So if you don't have that while you're working on it with Becky, here's some creative options. There is hard money. I'm sure we've all heard about hard money. And some people might go, oh my God, it's so expensive. It's okay. So let me give you an example of how it worked out for me. So I bought a house in Stockton, California, and it was listed for 95. I negotiated it down for 75. And I did a hard money loan for, I think it was 55, right? And use a private money lender for the down. Like, so no money out of pocket, right? This is the cliche, no money out of pocket episode here. So the hard money penciled out, right? So the payment was like, $400 a month, big deal, right? You could totally do that. Rents are like $1,300. So you're already cash flowing. So the rehab had to happen first and then renting out, but it penciled out. So it made sense. It was 13% was my rate and 2 points that I paid. And points are 1% of the loan amount. So no big deal, right? That's easy money to figure out. And some of you, and I'm from California, so I'm going to speak California numbers. And that property was in Stockton, California for $55,000 loan, which there are hard money lenders out there that may not lend that low. They might have a minimum of 75 or 150. So, shop around. But in California, you may be thinking, well, 900,000, right? Like, why would you use a hard money lender on that? The percentage of 2 and 4% is way higher, right? And at 13% rate is even much higher. Again, if it pencils out, then do it. 9 times out of 10, it probably won't on a high-end project. Okay, I'm just going to say that out loud. And then there comes private money lending, right? So, and then there's something in between that I'm going to discuss afterwards, but there's private money lenders. So if you get a private money lender, you don't really qualify like you do.
Can I stop you for 2 seconds?
Absolutely. Chime in.
Thank you. So what's the difference between a hard money lender and a private money lender? Like, what is the difference?
So, as a private money lender, which I was just going to get into, it's a handshake, right? It's a handshake. I'm going to do this. You don't have to qualify. So as a traditional lender, you would need excellent credit, like I was discussing. In a hard money situation, they may look at your credit to see how credible you are, but it's not really based on credit. It's more based on asset. As a private money lender, it's strictly based on asset. You do not have to qualify. Did we all hear that?
Yeah.
You do not need to qualify for a private money lender. Now, there's a promissory note that goes with it. There's paperwork that happens to make it all legit. But the main thing a private money lender needs is a return on their investment, right? They just want a return on their investment. There's no points. So if a private money lender is saying, I want 2 or 4 points, they're no longer a private money lender. They're becoming an institution. Okay.
Or a hard money lender, is that the difference?
So hard money lenders is the institution of private money lenders. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So let's back up in the whole money game of this, right? So the traditional bank, guess whose money they're lending out?
Not theirs.
No. Everyone who put their bank accounts with them, they're taking your money and making notes. They're making IOUs on paper, and then we call that a deed of trust, right? So in order for them to lend money, they have to have people banking with them, right? So it's kind of like having private money lenders, but it's not real money. It's all paper money. And hard money lenders. So what happened was how they even started was a whole pool of private money lenders got together and institutionalized how they did it. Right. So there's a usury law, and they go by usury law and make it a corporate thing that they do. So there's some qualifications, but not as harsh as traditional financing. And there's absolutely none when it comes to private money lending, right? So if a private money lender wanted to make a business out of lending money, they would then become a hard money lender.
In other words, they have some rules to being approved for a loan. And that's what makes them a hard money lender. That's interesting. Thank you for pulling that apart, because I was just like, I don't understand the difference. So thanks for speaking regular language. Yep. And so then what's the other, wasn't there 4 types of lending?
Yeah. So there's this, it's a hybrid, I like to call it. That's the thing lately, is a hybrid car, a hybrid everything, right? So I call it a hybrid of hard money and private money. Okay. And they've got some qualifications for you, but they're not as heavy as a hard money institution or as higher rate, right? So they're a little bit lower, but they do have rules. They like to see your credit. They want to see your experience as an investor. Okay. So they'll go, how many rehabs have you done in the past year? How much, what have you done? So, and you don't have to have the experience. So don't get me wrong. Because I kind of felt like that's where that was going, but they're going to base their rate on your experience. So I have my students, they'll partner with me. Other investors will partner with me because I have experience doing rehabs, and they know, they've seen my record, right? I have a record, an Excel spreadsheet that I send to my lender. When I invest, it's here's this property, what I bought it for, this is what I did, and this is what I sold it for, or I rented for, or whatever I did with it, right? And it's a year's worth of experience that I put on paper and I give to them. They go, holy crap, that's awesome. You know what you're doing. We're going to give you a better rate. Here you go. If I don't have experience, right? If I have no Excel spreadsheet to give them, they're like, we don't know if she really knows her numbers. Did she really calculate the repairs, the property manager, all the things that are the holding costs that are needed? Did she really do a good job? We're not sure because she doesn't have any experience. She's going to get a higher rate, or we may not invest in all with her. So there's that hybrid of hard money, which is totally, it's asset and credit based. They really want to know that they base it on the credibility, like your paper credit. That's what I want to say. Whereas the hybrid based it off your experience credit, right? And a private money lender is totally based on asset alone, right? So hopefully that explains all the different ways that you can acquire money. I mean, you can Google, hard money near me, right? And you'll get all kinds of ads. Like I think there's 40 ads that pop up when I do that. So you can interview them as well as they interview you. Like, what are your requirements? How much do you charge? Where are you at? Do you lend in this state? There's so many things that you can interview them on. How low do you go? So I bought a property.
Huge nugget, by the way. Anybody could do that tomorrow, and they could start researching right now. How to get started. What would I qualify for? How do you know if you've never even tried? You just have some silly string all over you that you just throw on. This could be a theme through all of these now. I just want you to know that. Don't be surprised if I have some silly string sitting back here next time just for fun, because it'll remind me to quit getting in my way. So anyway.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And so the one thing, the caveat to all of this is in some cases, they won't really know what to give you for your scenario if they don't pull your credit. So please don't let them pull your credit. So there's ways to
Just ask them what kind of scores you got to have, right?
Yeah.
Ask what kind of scores you got to have, or say, hey, I have the smart credit report. I can throw a link in there for a discount in our replays. But yeah, just pull up that report and send it to them and say, hey, what could you do for me based off of what you see here? You know, I don't
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't let them pull your credit. And if when you're ready, and you have one pulled after you've done your research, you do have the 30 days to do within that industry in case you need to pull again. But once you're past that 30 days, now you've got another hard pull on your credit. So it pulls it down even more, makes you look even less inviting. So make sure you have your ducks in a row before you get your credit pulled. Again, a way that Becky said you could do that is use your smart credit report. She'll have a link in the comments for that. But so what if you do that and it says, I have a 623 credit score, right? What if that's what pulls up? So then when you get on the Google search for hard money lenders or whatever you research, banks near me or hard money lenders near me, just say, hey, I have a 623 credit score. What can you do for me? Mm-hmm. Right. And so they're going to ask you debt to income stuff. You know, if you're doing traditional, they're really going to base it off of that and what credit cards you have, it's all consumer based. Right. And then the hard money is, well, let's see how maxed you are. Let's see what your credit is. But basically show me the asset. The asset has to really qualify. Right. Mm-hmm. And then of course there's that hybrid of the credit of your experience.
So why does the asset have to qualify? Like pull that apart. Like you're saying credit doesn't matter. And you know, a lot of people probably hear you say that and don't believe you because credit seems to matter for everything. And so when you say a hard money lender, but they still want to know what your score is, right? But they want to see the asset. And so I've done your 5-day challenge. It's freaking amazing. And so there's a piece in that, right, that shows people how to figure out what the asset is, right? And
yes.
So
the value of the asset. Yes.
Yeah. So speak to that just a little bit. Like they're going, okay, well, I'll go to a hard money lender. I'll be like, hey, I saw this house. I want to buy it, you know? So how do you get from point A to point B to show them that they have an asset? So speak to your 5-day challenge in that one piece that would help them get there for this first deal, just to get going, get into action and figure it out.
So first and foremost, I want to clarify what an asset is.
Yeah.
People get confused on this all day long.
It's not on your backside.
Yes. Your asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So I know some people are thinking out there, I can get a hard money lender and I could buy a house that I could live in. No, you can't. I'm going to stop you right there.
You mean that's not an asset?
If you're living in it, it's not an asset. And I don't care if you want a house hack or not. It's still not an asset. You're having to pay the property taxes. You're paying them, right? You're paying the mortgage. You might get a little income from maybe a renter or a roommate, as we called it back in the day. Now they call it house hacking, right? It's just getting roommates that pay you. If you're paying money, like so someone said, well, I want to buy land, right? So this can make it very clear for you guys. If you're buying land, it is a liability. And here's what the upper class does, right? And I can't seem to really stick with upper class as the title. Here's what the knowledgeable do, right? The knowledgeable who are making money and they're making too much money and they're trying to save on taxes, they buy land to sock it away, right, as a loss on their tax records. So sorry, I had to throw that geeky tax part of me in there as to why you would do something like that. So if you're thinking you're going to hard money lender to lend on a house that you're going to live in, stop listening to this podcast right now because you're not getting it. Come back with an investor mindset, okay? And listen to the fact that when you're working with a private money lender, or working with a hard money lender, it has to be an asset. If you're working with a traditional bank, they're typical for buying personal property that you're going to live in, which is why the stakes are so high. Okay, hard money does not want you to live in it. They don't want to have to kick you out when they foreclose on you if you don't pay your bills. So they base it on the asset. So the asset, the question was, how do you determine the value of the asset? And that is basically running comps. And I teach in my 5-day challenge how to run comps on not just other properties that are like it, but the market, right? How to comp out the market. What's going on in the market? Is it going up? Is it going down? It's what's going on. It's going sideways. And it really doesn't matter which way. You just need to know which way it's going so you know how to move forward, right? Some people say, oh, I'm going to wait till the market drops. No, buy now, right? Just figure out what the numbers are for today. Buy in today's market.
It's what you teach. I'm sorry. What you teach is that it's always a good time to invest because you don't know what somebody's story is on why they might need to move immediately. And so can you give me an example of like some point that you took over something? What was a scenario that you got a property just because of the situation, not because of the economy? Because if we all waited on the economy, we would never do anything.
So I'm sitting in one right now. So this is my commercial building. And I bought it creatively, no money down. How I did that was, so I drove past it a few times and realized it's shut down. It was a market/deli. And my husband had decided that he wanted to retire. And his way of retiring was to open up a deli or a pizza shop. That's what it was, a pizza shop. And I thought, a pizza shop? I don't what? He goes, could you buy that building down the road and we're going to open up a pizza joint? And I'm like, okay. So that was how I even thought to even look at the building, right? First of all, it was my story. What we wanted had to match another story of a need. Okay. And that's what I was tracking with you on earlier before we even started, Becky, was how is your situation going to fit a seller situation so we can get you in the right county, in the right guidelines for that school, right? So this is how I chose here was, okay, this is what my husband wants. It's close by and let's buy this building because it's going to work if we do A, B, and C, right? So then I have a conversation with the seller, I get a hold of the seller, and the story is she up and left. She closed the store because she missed her children. So she comes to the campsite that's over here and she saw it and she threw in all of her retirement money, bought it all cash, right? She threw it all in there and thought this was her retirement dream. She worked it for 2 years and said, I can't be away from my children. So they were 3 hours away, only 3 hours away, right? And she couldn't stand it. It was a different life for her. She wasn't ready for something like that. And what's key to this, in speaking to you, Becky, is there's a lot of apartment people out there, mom and pops that bought an apartment complex that now through the pandemic going, I want out, right? So those are the motivated sellers that we want to look for that no longer want to be in that apartment situation because they didn't hire a property manager. They didn't get the education that they needed to do it properly. So they want out. And that's what happened to her. She didn't get the education she needed to sustain. Like she could have had somebody else run the business. She could have, and there was a lot of things she could have done, but she just went no. And her retirement money was socked in here. So what I did is I took it over creatively. She seller financed the note, and basically I have no money into this building. The income from the rent is paying for the note. And so I basically got a pizza joint for free. Yeah.
Nice.
So
now you're going in and rehabbing. Yes.
it's rehabbing. I don't know if you've been hearing the contract
Yeah.
background, but
So
rehabbing downstairs.
So when you got the note, did you do private, hard, or traditional?
So a seller finance note is private money. So
Okay,
basically
so
her
private.
money is still tied into the building here.
Oh, because you took over the note.
Well, no, there was no note. She bought it all cash. So there
Oh, well,
was
even
nothing but
better.
equity. She
Right.
had nothing but equity in here, right?
Uh-huh.
And she just wanted to be home with her children.
Sure.
So I gave her that out so that she could be
Gotcha.
with her children.
Instead of just losing the whole place because she was just walking away from it anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a win-win situation for her, for sure, because now she gets a paycheck every month to make sure that she can take care of herself. So,
And let me just step on that just a second is yes, she did get a paycheck all through the pandemic, which we're kind of still in, it didn't end, but all through the pandemic where everything was shut down, she's still getting a paycheck.
yeah.
That was huge for her.
Yeah, it is. It is huge. She didn't lose everything
Yeah.
that she had worked so hard her whole life for in the first place, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But now you're doing deli work downstairs, like you guys are getting it up to par, right?
Mhm.
And you're getting ready to open this pizza deli. So my question to that is, where did you find the financing to do that part of it? Because you didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I know you rented out part of the investors.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I have a
question
pizza
is
investor.
hard, private, or traditional? Private. And
Mhm.
so because there's equity in the property, you could borrow against it, or because
No.
they're looking at the
Partnership.
assets. Partners.
Partnership.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so I
So,
know.
so I've never run a deli before or a pizza joint, and neither
Sure.
has my husband.
Uh-huh.
So what have we been saying all along?
Don't do
Somebody
what
who's
you don't.
experienced in it.
Yes. Yes.
So I have a pizza investor, someone who knows, who has run restaurants before, who invested to do the deli. And so I have a manager that's going to run the whole thing. I have someone who has experience in doing this. He invested money into the actual restaurant.
Mhm. So you still own the asset. You're still going to own the asset of the real estate, which is how McDonald's does it, right? They own all the real estate. That's where the real money is. If you watch anything on Netflix ever, they talk about McDonald's, and the reason they're so awesome is because of the real estate that they all own. Right. And so you own real estate. You got other people in there because who the heck wants to work 24/7 having a restaurant? You're not going to be in there making pizzas or whatever. You're just making money off of them being able to use your asset, your facility. And then you're building out your studio up top. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I just really wanted to pull that apart for somebody so that
incomes on one.
I wanted to pull that apart for somebody to make them just really realize that there was no traditional lending in that.
None whatsoever.
You made the deal work because you come up with a way creatively. There's like 3 or 5 different tax breaks in this whole scenario that you just did too, which is awesome because now you're not having to pay a bunch of taxes on stuff or understand any of it. So really just go to Joanna and she'll do her crazy wizard make a cake and figure it out type of scenario. Like, I like that. I'm glad you pulled that apart. That was really helpful.
Absolutely. So yeah, having the asset in one company, and I actually own a third of the deli company, who will then pay a lease agreement to my company and also my studio. And there is also, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 3 companies in this building
Mm-hmm.
that are paying. So it's pretty awesome to structure it in a way that works tax wise. And then also, I get to lean on your business credit side, right? Having a commercial building, having my businesses here, they're all separate but together.
Mm-hmm. And so then build business credit on all the different LLCs so that you can use that as an asset for 2 parts: to keep your liability separate. And the second is that building business credit is actually part of an asset. When you go to sell the business, they can use the business credit profile to buy the business, so that they have the financing to do that too when they transfer it over. So ridiculously, it sounds like high level strategies for creating wealth, creating assets, right? Things that bring in money, multiple streams of income, which is exactly what we're wrapping up in a nice little bow, I think, at the end of this podcast, because that's the whole point of this, is to learn all about how to make money work for you instead of you working for it. In what I believe, and I know Joanna feels the same, is the financial matrix that we didn't know we were in. And it's the system that was set up for us before we were ever born. But I like the billionaires system better. And so I think I just want to play in that playground and learn what that's all about, because you really don't have to trade time for money. And the more that I think you listen to our podcast, you're going to understand that you don't have to trade time for money. And when you can get your brain around that, like, that's a really weird concept, because we work hard, get a good job, like work hard until you die, really. Because there's no such thing as retirement. And a lot of people don't even believe that that's I know my mom just did it. Like, she retired last year on $900 a month. Like, she still had to go back to work. There wouldn't be so many people working at McDonald's that are old and retired, or Walmart. That business model is broken. So we're showing you that there's a different business model out there, and that you can do it too, just by studying and learning. So anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just so you guys know, you might be wondering, well, how did you get a private money lender, Joanna? It's relationship building, really. It's relationship building. And the more, everyone's around you has money to lend, believe it or not. They're everywhere. There's trillions of dollars in retirement accounts, people coming out of the stock market because the stock market's so volatile. There's ways to get private money. And to talk to people about it, to make a business transaction happen, not a borrow, hey, give me money, but a business transaction to where they're getting a return on their investment. And what's great about that is because, let's just give for an example, if you have an IRA or a Roth IRA, right? You can self-direct on it. You could blend it in multiple different areas, and real estate's one of them. But you cannot put any sweat equity into it. So this is kind of how a lot of this came about, was private money lenders lend on other people's property because their money goes to work for them. Because if they put it in their own property, first of all, it's no longer working. And second of all, they cannot put any sweat equity into it if it comes from certain sources.
What's sweat equity? Sorry.
You can't swing a hammer. You can't do any of the work.
Personally.
Yeah, and it's linear. So you, your husband, your children cannot do any of the work.
On
your cousins can on the property. Yeah. So a lot of people start out, when they get started in real estate investing, they're like, oh, well, I can redo the cabinets or something. I'll do the work there, right? It's something simple.
You're talking about if they're borrowing from a Roth or
right. So depending on where you're getting the money from, so like a Roth IRA, you cannot put any sweat equity in it. And that's where a lot of private money lenders started getting so popular because they're like, well, I have all this money here, right? And Joe needs it for his property. And so if you take it out of the entity that it's in, let me give you an example. So it's more clear. So a student in Chicago had no money whatsoever. And I mentioned, like, do you know anyone with a retirement account, or, just started listing off some things. And he says, well, my mom, but I'm not going to borrow any money. And again, we don't borrow money. We make a business proposal and we become an agreement, and it's a win-win, right? So he did this with his mom, and she pulled it out of her 401k at the time. And if you pull money out of your 401k, not everybody can, there's different types out there. So get with your servicer and see if you can actually lend on it. But if there is, it was prime plus 2% at the time. And it was like a total of 4.2 or something like that. It was some weird number like that. And then she gets a penalty, 10% penalty that is on top of that when she takes it out of her 401k. And so the money she took out, she had to grow enough to cover those things, right? You cover the interest that you're being charged. So it was around 4%. And then there's a 10% penalty, right? So she charged her son 8%, plus she got 50% of the profits. And if you took it out of your retirement account, it has to go back into your retirement account. So she not only got covered the interest that she was being charged from her 401k, she grew her retirement account by the 50% profit that went back into it. So basically, he was helping his mom retire a whole lot sooner because he was growing her retirement account. And for those of you that know who Mitt Romney is, he got really belted when he had multi-million-dollar IRAs. And if you guys know about an IRA, you can only put $6,500 on a normal person, 75 for 60 something and over. Like, how do you get $1 million IRA if you can only put in $6,500 a year? Right? Because you can take that, and he started with $2,000. You could take that, you put it in an investment, and the profits go back into the IRA. And that's how you grow it exponentially, right? Through assets, through investments to help grow your retirement accounts. So, I mean, Mitt Romney got belted with having $1 million IRAs because the regular society doesn't understand, the normal person doesn't understand how you can do that. I'm telling you here today, anyone can do it. You could start with a $2,000 IRA and build it to millions through investing in assets.
Awesome. Mic drop moment there. Well, all right, Miss Joanna, I think we covered.
We are good. Yeah.
I imagine somebody feels pretty full at this point of new questions, new silly string that they've got all over them. And so I highly encourage you to comment in the box down below, subscribe to our Facebook. I know we'll be having this stuff on YouTube. And so every platform you can imagine.
Hit the bell.
Yeah.
Hit the like, subscribe so you don't miss any more.
Yeah. Because we're going to keep doing this and really pull apart like all this real estate noise and all this credit noise and tools that you can put in your toolbox. Learn leadership skills so that when you do get access to all this money, like you are confident in exactly what to do with it and have your blueprint, your plan of building your assets, and you're making money work for you instead of feeling like you're a slave to money in this crazy world. So yay.
Absolutely. I had so much fun. I look forward to so many more of these. As you can hear, there's a ton that's ready to come out of us and just share with you. Can't wait to get with Becky and get the secret sauce on business credit.
Yeah, that's going to be our next episode. We're totally going to pull apart all the stuff about business credit and funding and financing and stuff. So yay.
And of course, how you can use it for real estate too.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned and we'll see you guys in our next episode.